On the road of life, we often have fear, trauma, worry, doubt, stress, anxiety, things of that nature that go on in our life. And we have an issue with trying to deal with it and how to handle it and what to do to shift it. There is a woman who I mentor who recently asked me about this, and I shared with her about the story of Nathan. And so this video is about the audio of it transformed into video of my message to her in sharing with her the story of Nathan. And I share it with you to show you the power of love and how through the power of love you can transform and heal anything. Sometimes it happens through a process instead of a one-time thing, but it can happen through love and through all of the attributes of love. So here now is the excerpt that I have sent the woman that I mentor. May it guide you in love and help you on the path of healing. I've recorded this onto my videos before, and I've spoken about it in my speaking gigs and things of that nature. But you asked about my story about Nathan. So back in the day when I was only doing readings and spiritual work part-time in the spiritual closet because my former husband was not in alignment with it, and so I did things when he was not around, when he was either working or whatnot. I also had the quote-unquote earthly jobs, and I was teaching. And so I taught from preschool all the way to grade 3. And my last teaching job I had as a teacher of reading. And so this young boy, his name was Nathan, and I was teaching grade 3 reading. And he was at grade 1 level in reading. And he would be in what would be now classified today as ADD or ADHD or whatnot. But they didn't have that, classification back in those days. And so he would flail about, he would have tantrums, he was, quite harsh, he would kick me, he would scream, he would, do all of these kinds of things, being quite naughty, as we call it here in Scotland and England. And so this one day when I was teaching him, and this was his way of expressing his frustration when he couldn't read. And I knew this. And so one day I received the wisdom from God, Source, the Master Artist, that I was just to hold him. And not hold him as in restraining him, but hold him as in a mother would do, like you would do for your child. And so I went over to him and I started to hold him. And I was holding him, hugging him. And I was rocking him back and forth as best I could. He was flailing about and having a tantrum and screaming at the top of his lungs, I can't do it, I can't read, I can't do it, and all of this kind of stuff. And I was still doing my best to hold him. And as I was holding him, I would just repeat as a mantra, it's okay, Nathan. You're safe, Nathan. I love you, Nathan. You can do it, Nathan. All of these different things just over and over and over again. And I didn't know why I was doing it. I just, felt called from God to do it. This is what I was supposed to do. And it seemed like forever I was doing this with him. But finally, after what seemed like forever, he just kind of let out this huge sigh. And then he just started sobbing. And he started sobbing and sobbing. And I, just crying. I can't do it. I can't read. I'll never be able to read. I suck or this, this whole thing. And the whole time I just kept saying, no, it's okay, Nathan. You're safe. I love you. You can do it, over and over and over again. And finally, he, I let it continue. He felt it full out and just experienced it. He had to experience that. And then when he had come to a point where he had calmed himself finally, and after that point he excelled in reading. And by the time I left a few months later that job, he was grade 5 reading level. And so I know from experience that what it is he needed in that moment was just to be reassured, to told that he was loved, that he was safe, that he could do it. And so that's why I said to you, as you're doing this deeper healing work, the question to ask is, what is it that fear really needs right now? and then give that to yourself. And then, after that, when you've come to that place, you can ask, well, who would I be, without that fear? So in essence, it's the same thing that I did with Nathan. He was afraid that he'd never be able to read again, and he was feeling unworthy and unloved, and like God didn't love him, and nobody loved him, and nobody cared about him, and everything else. And by just me saying those words to him as a child, he understood that. Now for you, for doing the deeper work, this is what you can do as well. And just, who would I be without this fear? You've acknowledged the fact that it's a ridiculous fear. You've acknowledged the fact that that it's, your separation from God. It's you're feeling unloved and everything else. So what does that fear really need? It needs to be loved. It needs to be held. It needs to be told it's safe and it's okay. And that's what your child is asking for. And you may have to do that in many layers. With Nathan, he was a young lad. So, for him, it was very much just a quick thing, because he didn't have all that programming. You have years and years and years and layers and layers and layers of programming. Now, he also had other lives that, he was healing at the same time. So when children come in, they come in pure, but they also carry with them those other lives. So that may not surface until later. At that point, he was still, pure enough for a shift to happen rapidly. For you, and for most of us here on this earth, it takes layers and layers and layers of doing this over and over and over again. You can't just do it a one-off, or we call it a one-off here, a one-time thing, and that that's that. Okay, sometimes it's repeated layers and layers and layers of I'm feeling unworthy, and repeating to your inner child of it's okay, I understand you're feeling unworthy. It's okay, I understand you're feeling fear. It's all right to feel it, just like Nathan. It was all right for him to feel that in that moment. Okay, and then to let your inner child know it's all right. And who would you be without that fear? Really delve deep into that. Who would you be without that fear? And feel that. Feel what that feels like, and keep practicing it each time it comes up. So it's not a one-off or a one-time thing. It's many layers that you're dealing with. So it's going to take time sometimes, and it's okay. It's okay to be in that fear. Just dived right into it, just like he did. He had that tantrum, and he didn't say, oh, I feel this fear, but I'm just not going to. He felt it full out. So this is the story of Nathan, and may this and those two questions help you on the path. I love you dearly and deeply, and I know we will talk soon.